Hey everybody, and Tony here with a review of Baisers Vole, known in English as Stolen Kisses, which was released on August 14, 1968, and which I also saw at the Kino Babylon. This film was directed, written, and produced by François Truffaut. It was co-produced by Marcel Berber. It was co-written by Claude de Giffray and Bernard Revon. The cinematography was done by Denis Cleural. The music was composed by Antoine Duhamel, with a song sung by Charles Trenet. It was edited by Agnès Guillemot, and it starred the talents of Jean-Pierre Léaud, Claude Jade, Daniel Cecaldi, Claire Duhamel, Michael Lonsdale, Delphine Zeyrich, Henri Max, André Falcon, and Catherine Lutz. Now, I came into this film with no expectations whatsoever, but I still was pretty much familiar with François Truffaut's huge body of works. François Truffaut is one of my most favorite French directors, totally up there with the likes of Agnès Varda and Jean-Luc Godard, as he was able to make all of these wonderful images and wonderful stories come to life, all thanks to his masterful writing and by the way he was able to make his characters be as lovable and as endearing as they are. And this film was certainly no exception. Story-wise, this chronicles the tale of Antoine, who is basically a loser in life, getting himself kicked out from job after job after job. After being discharged from the military, after being AWOL for several times, he tries his luck at a hotel, but he also gets kicked out, and it's not until that he tries out for a job as a private detective, being undercover in a shoe shop, that he does get to keep the job. But the question is, how well can he keep it, and how much will his relationship with Christine get the better of him, even when he gets himself involved with his boss's wife? So this does manage to leave me totally wanting a lot more, and it managed to put me in a state where I was rooting for Antoine to finally get his happily ever after. And let's just say that everything about it is a combination of witty and wonderfully sardonic humor, a very sweet romance to be found between Antoine and Christine, and something very interesting about to brew between Madame Tabar and Antoine. It also helps that it has a very down-to-earth approach to its male lead, and the whole story managed to leave me with a lot of positivity that I was able to root for all these characters. It's essentially Antoine's story in terms of not only finding a great job that could suit him and trying to prove himself that he's not a loser in life, but it's also a sweet love story between someone who may be quite the loser in life, but is nonetheless someone who has a girlfriend who understands him and who seems to unconditionally love him no matter what he goes through. The cinematography is just as lush. It managed to make a great use of location shots and even put in so much intricate detail to every single shot, whether they be focused on the characters or on the sets. Everything about the cinematography was just so well done. The music is just as lovely. Sometimes the comedic moments use some pieces of music that are zany and wild, while the quieter moments have this type of lilting softness that I definitely enjoy. But by far, this one piece of music that stands out to me the most is this love song sung by the legendary French chansonnier Charles Trenet, in which he was able to sing about those sensations of what it's like to be in love and all of those feelings that come along with it. So overall, the music does serve its purpose in not only moving the story along, but for also giving depth and a lot of believability to the characters, backed up by a very fine score. The characters are just as lovable, especially when you have Antoine on the helm. He is someone I could really relate to in terms of how he is as a person, in terms of trying to find his way in life, but each time it seems to give him the shit burger. But in spite of all that, he does keep his boy next door kind and genuine nature intact, even when life throws a lot of crap at him. He's just someone I totally enjoy watching and someone I can totally sympathize with, especially when he gets himself into a really sticky situation with Madame Tabal. Not even helping matters that he does have feelings for his girlfriend, Christine. And speaking of Christine, she is an absolutely fun character to witness. She's a violinist who has a very strong and very endearing personality, and she's someone who keeps rooting for Antoine to make it in life. I definitely enjoy her character as well because of everything that she represents. She gives Antoine a lot of support, both morally and in terms of reaching his goals, and she is just someone I can totally root for as well. Christine's parents, Monsieur and Madame Darbon, are absolutely entertaining because of not only the chemistry that they have with each other as a couple, but for also understanding just how strong Christine's appreciation for Antoine really is, and for also being great sources of rooting for Antoine, especially when he is in his days where he is so down on his luck, or even when life doesn't really seem to treat him that well. Georges Tabal is basically the shoe store owner who tries to keep everything intact and is someone who has a very strong presence on screen with his stern nature and with how he manages to keep a tight ship running. Fabienne Tabal is worldly beyond her years and someone who has a conscientiousness of the world around her and someone who has a lot of class and dignity. She's also quite aware of what is going on with Antoine, as she is aware of how he feels towards her, considering that Antoine describes her as not only a woman but an apparition and someone who is just so extraordinary. And I dare not spoil the ending, but how she was able to behave in that moment was absolutely brilliant. Monsieur Henri is the old man who works at the private detective industry, who is very entertaining to witness, all thanks to how he reacts to the situations around him. Monsieur Blady is someone who ensures a tight ship in his company and will not be so willing to have any failure unnoticed. And he does see some potential in Antoine in terms of his skills as a private detective, even though Antoine does mess up and does show signs of laziness and unwillingness. Catherine is essentially someone who does also help keep a tight ship, and she's also someone who is also quite enjoyable to witness, all thanks to how much composure she has over every situation. So overall, the characters are very wonderful to watch, especially when you have such a lovable loser such as Antoine and someone who has supported him and has kept on rooting for him in the form of his girlfriend, Christine. These two are an absolutely lovely couple, and I managed to root for them from beginning to end. The acting is just as credible, especially when you have the likes of Jean-Pierre Léaud, who managed to give off his youthful vibrance and his wide-eyed marvel of the world around him, before the likes of Michael Cera, who embodied all of these boys next door characters and who was able to give off such a youthful charm to each of them. There was Jean-Pierre Léaud, who was able to make Antoine very lovable in his own special way, and he was able to embody him naturally without making him too quirky nor too extravagant. He made him just right. Claude Jade as Christine was just as lovable. She was absolutely brilliant and absolutely charismatic in terms of how she was able to embody Christine, and she worked extremely well off of Jean-Pierre Léaud as Antoine. She also used her girlish great looks and her mannerisms to make Christine a fully realized and wonderfully lovable character. Daniel Cicaldi managed to give Monsieur Darbon a very warm and very wonderful and open personality, while Claire Duhamel was also quite wonderful in terms of how she was able to embody Madame Darbon. These two worked wonderfully off of each other that I was practically hooked. Michael Lonsdale was tall, eloquent, and dashing as Georges Tabar, as he was able to make a great use of his strong screen presence to make his character all the more addictive to watch. By far, the one who stole the show was Delphine Zeyrich as Fabienne Tabar. She was so classy in this role and she was so gorgeous that I was practically on cloud nine when I saw her strut around the screen. She was also very well known as the fairy godmother from Le Pot d'Anne, starring Catherine Deneuve. And here as Fabienne Tabar, she was elegant, worldly, and she showed a lot of poise and composure. There were also some wonderful performances accomplished by the likes of Harry Max, André Falcon, and Katharina Lutz, who were able to give these characters a lot of life, vibrancy, and so much dimension. So overall, Baisers Vole was an absolute joy to watch. It had wonderfully lovable characters, a story that was sweet and endearing, and the music was just as wonderful as both the characters and the story. And with that said, I give this film a well-deserved rating of 5 out of 5 stars. This is an absolutely wonderful romantic comedy drama of a story, and I definitely recommend it to anyone who is a fan of romance stories or even romantic comedies. This film is totally up your alley. And for those of you that watched Baisers Vole, what'd you think of it? Did you really love the character of Antoine? Did you feel like he resonated with you in more ways than one? Or was there another character that stole the show from his thunder? Comment below and let me know. Well, that's all for now. Be sure to tune in much later where I review Alphaville. So until then, have a great day, everybody.